Welcome back, design students. In this video, we're going to create a texture to apply to our rabbit using the UV template we generated in the last video. Before we get started, let's go ahead and switch back to the Maya Classic workspace. And then let's switch to object mode, select our rabbit, and then delete the history. Go to Edit, Delete by Type, delete all by type, History. And then let's right-click on the rabbit and apply a new material. Let's assign an Arnold standard surface shader, like so. And then let's push 3 on the keyboard to smooth the mesh. And then let's open Photoshop and click Open. Navigate to your Rabbit project folder and find the UV template that you generated and open it. And in preparation for doing this, we are going to duplicate this layer twice. So right click and select Duplicate Layer. And the reason we do it twice is because it is brighter and easier to see. And then we're going to turn off this background layer. And then let's change both of these top layers to screen blending mode. And you can see if I turn this lower one off, you can see that the reason we made 2 is just to make it brighter. And then let's lock each one of these layers. And now we're going to apply the base color to the rabbit. Select the bottom layer and click Create New Layer on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And that creates a new layer above the layer we had selected. And then let's click the foreground color swatch over here on the opposite side of the screen and create a color. What color you create is entirely up to you. And then we're going to fill this entire layer with that color. To do that, on a Mac, it is Option Delete. To do that on a PC, it's Alt Delete, and that fills that entire layer with that color. Before we apply this back to our mesh, I want to paint the ears. So I'm going to get my brush tool, and then I'm going to select the foreground swatch, and I'm going to make it a pink color. Whenever you paint, you always paint with the foreground color. I'm going to make sure my brush is a soft brush by making sure the hardness is 0. And I'm going to make it maybe a little smaller than it is. To turn off brush settings, you just click somewhere in a blank part of the toolbar. And then I'm going to begin to paint the insides of the ears. But a better way to do this is to create another layer above this colored layer that is just for other colors and markings. That way, if we don't like what we've done, we can simply delete that layer. To view this on our rabbit, we need to turn off these 2 top layers so we don't render the UV template grid. And we need to go to File, Export As. A JPEG is fine, 2048 is fine. Click Export, and then put that in your project folder in the Source Images folder. And rename it Rabbit Albedo. And that is what the color map for a material is called, the albedo map. Some programs call it the diffuse map, and some call it the beauty map. And I always like to put a suffix on it because I might make another one. So this is Rabbit Albedo 01, and then click Save. Then we can return to Maya. Select our rabbit mesh, find the material, and we click the checkered icon next to the color swatch. And then we click File, and then we click the folder in the Attributes Editor, and we go to the project folder and find that image and click Open. Now you don't see my rabbit texture on my rabbit because I don't have Show Textures in Viewport clicked. When I do, you will now see the color on the rabbit. Note the problem. I painted the wrong part of the mesh. So to fix that, I have to go back to Photoshop. I can just turn off this layer. That's why it's a good idea to use a layer for this. Create a new layer. Turn my template back on, and now I know that this is the part I need to paint. While I'm in here, I'm going to paint the bottom of the feet the same color, and the ends of the hands also. And now let's see what that looks like. In order to do that, we have to turn off the top two layers and re-export. And it defaults to that same folder. I'm just going to select the texture I want to overwrite and click Yes, and it is now saved on my rabbit. But I will not see the changes until I come over here and press Reload. And there you go. Notice that this texture has been pulled away from the edge of the ears. If I unsmooth the mesh, it goes back. Smoothing will distort your UVs. So I'm going to turn off smoothing and show you how you can fix that. To fix it, what we need is a control loop on this corner. We already have one on the outside, but not on the inside. So what I need to do is switch to face mode, turn on symmetry, and select the ear faces. And then I need to shift, right click, and select extrude face. And then we need to adjust the offset a little bit to create that control loop. And now when we smooth, I still have the distortion, which means I need to paint this part of the mesh. Now what I've done here is I've created new UVs that need to be mapped, and they need to be included in this. So what I have to do is turn off smoothing and select those polygons and include them in this part of the UV template. Since I still have them selected, I'm going to come up to Select Grow, and that just grows my selection out one set of polygons, which takes into account the new polygons that I've created by creating that control loop. And now I need to return to the UV editing workspace and apply projection to these new polygons. I'm going to click UV, planar, and make sure Z is selected and click project. And now I have new UVs for the ears. See, there's where they were. So what I need to do now is scale them down and flip them like I did before. And then I have to turn off symmetry, grab these, find transform, flip them, and move them onto the other ones. Select all of them and scale them down and put them into place. Now you can see my texture here because I have this box on. If I turn it off, then I don't have my texture anymore. I still need to scale this down a little bit more. And now, when I smooth this, I don't lose my UV edges. And that's how you fix that. That's why we use control loops. Let's take a look at the ends of the hands. They look good. And the ends of the feet, they look good. And in the next video, when we come back, we're going to paint some markings on his belly, and we're going to apply some materials to the button and the nose and the mouth. And I'll see you then.